I'm not going to spoil the story, but it is pretty awesome. You guys are in for a treat. Now give him a warm round of applause.
Well, namaste. Thank you, Matt, for that kind introduction. As all of you, or as many of you know, I'm Ian Bellows. I've worn many hats over the years, but now I come to you as a wise, old, and awesomely bearded mountain man. I was originally asked here to talk about my recent trip to South Asia, which I'll get to shortly. For those of you who don't know, I spent 8 months traveling solo in Nepal, India, and Tibet, conducting independent research on development of the social, political, and economic drivers of adventure travel. But let's back up a little bit. The story I want to tell actually begins in 2006. I was 13, and it was my ordeal weekend at Camp Parsons. I remember it vividly. I remember shoveling dirt and stacking rocks in silence. I remember my orange wedges, my half a hot dog, and I also remember falling asleep during the second ceremony. A lot of things happened that weekend that I didn't understand. But through the bits and pieces of the orientations and the speeches, the pictures are working, and the speeches and the ceremonies, I realized that I had been marked for something greater. This sense of purpose stuck with me in the years that followed. If not for my induction into the OA, I don't know if I would have earned my Eagle Scout. I never would have worked with a highly skilled group of youth and adults here in this council, and had the chance to mentor youth like Nathan and Pratik. I know I certainly wouldn't have served as Lodge Chief, worked at Plant AeroCorps 502 and AeroCorps 2014. I don't know if I would have become involved with Crew 310 and Cascade Leadership Challenge. So many questions, but here I am. It was with Cascade Leadership Challenge that it was as Cascade Leadership Challenge Explorer residents that I traveled to Nepal in November 2014 with nothing but a one-way plane ticket and 2 weeks booked at my hostel. But don't worry, I made it up as I went along. Over the next 5 months, I experienced a tremendous cultural cross-section of South Asia. I spent a great deal of time exploring Kathmandu and the Kathmandu Valley, an immense center of history and culture. Kathmandu was once said to have more temples than houses and more idols than men. And this very nearly holds true today. I later ventured into the country, working on a communal farm, and gaining insight into the real Nepal. I immersed myself in the murky world of development and adventure travel. I had the chance to visit the renowned Khumbu Climbing School and to climb and trek among the highest peaks on Earth. To make a very long story short, I got to travel with some amazing people and see some amazing things. In April, I was joined by a group of trekkers from CLC, where I trekked to Everest Advanced Base Camp in Tibet, and by Harrison Laird, who was making the summit attempt of Mount Everest. Together, we followed in the footsteps of the famous explorers Mallory and Irvine, traveling along the Magic Highway to over 21,000 feet. From there, we could glimpse the summit of Mount Everest, the tallest mountain on Earth. It seemed so close, yet we knew it was all so far away. I reached Advanced Base Camp, and I completed my trek, and was on my way back to Nepal when the Great Earthquake struck. Because we were so far away from the epicenter, the full extent of the disaster became clear only slowly. But as we received reports from around the region, it became clear that it was the worst disaster to strike Nepal in over 80 years. Over the subsequent days, I witnessed the Himalayan climbing season implode from my tea house in Tibet as the Chinese canceled the visas of the 600 foreign mountaineers, trekkers, and support staff on the north side of the mountain. It took over a week for us to reach Lhasa, and from there we continued on to Kathmandu. When I finally returned to Nepal, the country was in chaos. 10,000 people were dead. In some places, no building was left standing. Every house, every shop, every school, and every health post lay in ruins. Nepal's cultural heritage was obliterated. Centuries of history gone in an instant. Everywhere, people were shaken and scared. But these people could expect no help from a government that had stopped functioning. They could expect no help from an ineffective and often misguided international aid response. In those days, there were moments of violence and ugliness and fear, and there's nothing worse than knowing that in your darkest hour, you are alone. But as it turned out, we were not alone. Out of the chaos, leaders from near and far emerged. NGO workers, agency personnel, medical teams, reconstruction crews, engineers, soldiers, and community organizers. You could call all these people ordinary, since none of them were experts in disaster relief. None of them had ever experienced anything of this magnitude before. But by thinking creatively and working together, first in relief, then in recovery, and then in rebuilding, they're able to accomplish some truly extraordinary things. My friends had found each other in this crazy world in the unlikeliest of ways. Some found themselves in the right place at the right time. Some traveled from half a world away. Some of these people had lost everything, but yet all of them still had everything left to give. For 2 months, I followed these people as they braved monsoon rains, landslides, terrible roads, dangerous helicopter flights, constant shortages of relief supplies, and hundreds of aftershocks. It is through their efforts and the spirit and courage and ingenuity of the Nepali people that Nepal will rise again. Of all the things I experienced in my travels, it is the example of these people that stays with me most today. These people embody the values of our Scout law: loyal, helpful, kind, and brave. And our promise from the Scout Oath to do my best and to help other people at all times. Instead of giving up, as it would have been so easy to do, these people stepped up. Their darkest hour became their finest hour. So where is all of this leading to? In our ordeal, all lots of humor reminds us of the greatest of a Scout's obligations, our duty to God and country. To this I would add an obligation to our world. We live in a world where people are more concerned with getting rather than giving. We live in a world where people focus on our differences rather than what unites us. The effects of what we do here are felt around the world. And so this is why the world needs what we have as an organization and a movement more than ever. Imagine what our world would be like if we all lived by our Scout Oath and Scout Law. The world needs people like you. Imagine what a difference we could make. It starts with us. As airmen, all of us were chosen for a higher purpose. Sometimes you choose this purpose, other times it chooses you. Through my experiences and my travels, my purpose became clear: to push the boundaries of the possible, to see what truths reveal themselves at the far corners of the earth, and to spend my life in cheerful service to others. As we celebrate the centennial of the Order of the Arrow, it is only right that we examine ourselves to see just how we can better serve our fellow band in the century ahead. How will you spend your time and talent? What would you dare to do if you knew you could not fail? And when the lights shine the brightest and no one else knows what to do, are you prepared to act? One of the people I met after the earthquake perhaps put it best: I have these 2 hands, this 1 heart, and this 1 lifetime. The only choice I have to make is what to do with them. And so, my brothers, this is where I leave you tonight. We stand at the edge of a bright new era in our shared history, and a world of possibility lies before us. We have 1 shot, and I know you'll make the most of it. Thank you. Jai Nepal!
forgot to mention earlier, but Ian was actually here on campus 4 years ago when he was inducted as Lodge Chief. He's a Vigil Honor member of our Lodge, Founders Award recipient, James E. West Fellowship recipient. Our Lodge has basically given him every award we could, and it's phenomenal to see some of the things that airmen that Silver Marmots are doing after they age out.